Boy.
Just now. Yeah. Like.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. We'll go back down. Okay, we have Abby. Abby's not here tonight, but we do want to celebrate Abby. Abby is our WA Kids certified teacher for both. We have a morning and an afternoon class. Abby's classroom that was warm, it's welcoming, and it's a perfect design for our youngest learners. She has a very positive presence, and she really sets the tone for those early learners each day. So it's pretty magical to see Abby. We also have Heather. Heather's our middle level teacher who brings numbers to life. She's constantly seeking ways to engage students through hands-on math activities and problem solving, and she just makes it exciting and meaningful for the students. And we have Rachel who's here today. Rachel, I have the certificate for you. I appreciate you so much. Rachel, she's our middle level ELA teacher. So she's one of those teachers also that's endorsed in our 4th through 8th grade ELA. She keeps learning lively, fast paced. It is amazing to be in her classroom. She has events for students where they engage in readers theater, performances. She also helps lead the vibe for our students. It's a student run newspaper. And she really is an advocate for students in inspiring creativity and confidence and just making their voices heard. So I appreciate you so much. Yeah. And then Heidi, she is not here to be able to be here tonight. Her daughter plays basketball down at college, so she's heading down there to watch her play. So wishing her lots of luck. But Heidi is our elementary and middle level science teacher. So Heidi is unique is that she has an elementary teaching certification, but she's also highly endorsed for science, so she can teach all the way from 1st through 8th grade. And so right now she's teaching our 1st through 4th graders, and next semester she'll be teaching our 5th through 8th graders. So lots of endorsements there, but she is amazing. She sparks curiosity through hands-on experiences and discovery-based learning, and she really makes science an adventure for every student. Right now, I know they're doing water samples of ponds and looking in microscopes, and so it's pretty awesome bringing those activities onto campus. So we appreciate Heidi. And then we have Amy Clayton. Thank you so much for being here and being part of our team. Amy, she is our dedicated long-term substitute teacher right now. She's just jumped right into our new robotics curriculum. And she's really been integrating those new tech and robotic standards. I appreciate that. I got to be part of your guys' PLC team meeting today, and it's pretty impressive the conversations that you're having and that high level engagement and really just centering those lessons on the students. I think it was just this week, students were doing a robotic rubber band distance challenge, so it's pretty awesome to see them. And then Rebecca Montgomery. Rebecca, she wears many hats in our district. You might think she is actually technically a full-time employee for our district, but at MP3, she is our 1st through 8th grade technology teacher, and she really does a great job. She does a great job though of integrating those digital citizenship lessons, which is really important for our students to know how to engage in technology and know how to use it appropriately. And so I really do appreciate that, especially teaching it. I know you have our 1st through 4th graders, teaching it at an early age. It was great and very appreciative. So thank you so much. She's also leads our garden club at recess. And that has been really awesome to see students in the garden. And if you haven't seen the new article that just came out, there's a really great article about how our garden and our campus classes have come to life. So that's been awesome. She's also our highly capable teacher in our district. And so you're a real true multitasker. So really together, we're just so grateful for all of you guys. So thank you so much for being in MP3, so great. Together, these teachers, they bring our campus to life. Each one has just a special, unique piece that we really do appreciate. So thank you.
You do a good job too, Michelle.
Yeah. Yeah. They make me look good. So thank you.
All right. Moving on to public comment. Okay. We'll go straight into some reports. Looks like we got Adrian Samara, and she'll present an overview of the PLC process.
And I'm just going to, I think we've talked a lot about the PLC process. So what I did at the beginning of the year was asked kind of the leads, the folks who are leading our PLC teams to just give a little bit of background about their goals and the things that they're really excited about this year. So I'm not gonna read those to you, but what I wanted to highlight with all of these is that our principals and their guiding coalition teams are really thoughtful about the kinds of things that they want to focus on this year. We've been doing PLCs for a while, but every year they're about getting better and improving. So as you're listening to the presentations today, I just want to highlight that work for you and just how proud I am of these teams and the things that they are doing and working on. So I think.
Okay, good. Middle school math, I think is up first. Okay.
Sitting or standing? I'll stand.
Sure, we can find some chairs for you. Let's sit down there, chair there.
Well, thank you so much for having us here today. Our focus is gonna be on sixth grade standards, so we're focusing on that one today, but first we'd like to introduce ourselves. My name is Heather Cavito. I teach eighth grade math.
I'm Priscilla Reardon. I teach special education for all grades. And I'm BJ Park and I teach sixth grade.
And we're missing Megan Wolden, who teaches our seventh grade math. And Kiana Alteris is a student teacher in seventh grade math this year. So, and we chose for a tagline where mistakes make mathematicians, because we really focus our students on learning from their mistakes and kind of focusing on that growth mindset. For the standard that we're talking about today, it's a sixth grade standard about multiplying and dividing fractions. And the focus is really on using visual models for that. So we want students to be able to model that division and what that looks like. And that can be difficult for some students because they really want to focus on that standard algorithm where you just multiply straight across, or when you're dividing, you flip the fraction, then you multiply. But what they miss with that is the conceptual understanding behind that. Why is that the standard practice that we use? And we really see a connection through the grade levels vertically with why understanding that conceptual piece is really important. As they move through the rest of their middle school and high school, really understanding what division is a really key component. And then also just really understanding how fractions function, especially when they get up into algebra 2 and they're simplifying these really complicated expressions. Understanding those fraction concepts is really important. So we really want to kind of hammer in that conceptual understanding as early as possible. So we're all really invested in each other's grade levels as we're working through our PLCs. And as far as knowing how we will know students learn it, we use formative assessments. We have lots of different assessments that we use. But as a PLT, we really like to come together and look at those different questions that we're asking students to make sure that they are really aligned to the standard and that we're really getting to the meat of the standard and making sure we can pull evidence from that standard. And one thing we've been working on, especially with our assessments, is looking at breaking the standard apart and then what would an A work look like? What does a B look like? What does a C and a D? And so instead of just looking at here's, a cut score out of, 100%, more like a rubric type style. Like, what does it mean if a student truly understands the standard, and really kind of focusing in on that.
Okay, so that question that was up there, it was a sample. It was a word problem where a person had so much chicken and they had to figure out how many surveys they could make from that. And the students were asked to model it and write an equation and answer with a label. And so what we figured out is that an A would look like they did all of those steps perfectly. They had their model, they did an equation, they answered with a label.
Yeah.
And so that would be what we call like a 4 or an A. So a B would be, they just missed a little bit. You can really tell that they understand it conceptually, but they just missed one step somewhere. Like they didn't label it, they didn't write their expression, but they did the model and the answer. So they did most of it. A 2 or a C would be that they're on the right track. We can see that they're they kind of understand, but they're not quite there yet. And a 1 is they just tried something. So we really emphasize that they cannot learn if they don't try. Okay, so we really don't want something to be just left blank or just write, I don't know, or question marks. So we give them at least a 1 or a D for trying something. So if you see there, they're kind of color coded. So that's that same question we just looked at, and it's color coded so that a 4 or an A is green, and then a 3 is yellow, and a 2 would be orange, and then the 1 is red. And so from that information, we can decide if students need to be either retaught or if they need an extension from there.
And so with the extensions, everybody 6th, 7th, and 8th grade has different options on Google Classroom opportunities. That can be like more complex number puzzles and that kind of thing, depending on the grade level. iReady has built-in extensions. So when they test, if they're testing at a higher grade level, the lessons that are going along with their path on iReady will be at a higher level, separate from what they're doing with curriculum. And then Amplify Desmos, these next 2 things are new this year, is that there's fluency practice that's self-paced. And so as students move quickly through it, they don't need to stay stuck on the same level as everybody, but everybody goes at their own pace. And so students can go ahead if they need to. And then same with vocabulary flashcards built in as well.
And so just wrapping up, we're in our PLTs, we're really working on like standards-based grading, and our assessment practices have been really aligned and improved. And so what you see on the right is instead of one test to just having a percentage, it's broken apart by standards. So the standard you see on the right is multiplying fractions. The one on the left is dividing fractions. And there's several different assessments. So we can see if they're moving along, if they're moving forward as the unit goes. But instead of just having one test score, it's broken up. And that way we're also aligning among the grade levels. We're all trying to grade like this, more on standards. We're looking at really what the students need to learn, not just one like unit test score. And our SBA data really shows that we're trending in the right direction. So if you look at the bottom there, that's the end of the school year. Last year, we had 66% of our kids meeting grade level. From the year before, we were at like 34%. So we gained about 30% of kids are at grade level. So it's really showing that our work is making a difference. And that's all we have. Do you have any questions for us?
Can you clarify that? The far left side was on 10/30.
Yeah, so they all have the same dates because that way they're grouped together in the program so I can compare them easier. But it's actually on the far right is the earliest assessments, and on the far left is the most current assessments,
Okay.
even though they have the same date. It's just so they're not separated in my grade book by a bunch of other assignments and different things, so I can just visually see it better.
Yeah, if we're going right to left, it looks pretty good.
Yes.
I noticed you identified, we could respond if they've learned it, the Google Classroom, iReady, fluency, vocabulary, flashcards. So we see 66% are at grade level. What are we doing for the students who are mastering it? And can you see that quite easily in their iReady and their flashcards? And then do they get additional opportunities to excel even further? Like, how are you identifying those highly capable or students that are ready to move on faster, more quickly?
So a couple different ways. So we can give a pre-test for the unit to see if they already know it. And if they already know it, I have a separate Google Classroom that's called the Extensions Google Classroom. And it has other material either that we're not going to hit this year or the next thing in that standard line. So for example, we're doing like area of a triangle and parallelogram right now. So if they already know how to do that and they're proficient at that, they can go on to the next thing, which would be like the area of a circle. And so, and they have those opportunities in that extension classroom, which I can supervise all digitally. They also have time during class, during kind of some independent work time, if they have some questions on that for me to work on with them one-on-one.
And as they move up in the grade levels,
There's accelerated math classes in 7th grade, and then in 8th grade, they have the opportunity to take either 8th grade math or algebra. So they've got some opportunity to take some higher level math as they progress through the program.
Does the algebra class still count as a high school credit? That's awesome. Very cool.
Can I ask just a quick question? With respect to the standards and understanding where your students are, how is that translated to your students understanding that they are, so they know where they're going? Have you had conversations with them about, this is the piece of this particular unit where you're struggling a little bit, and this is what we just, how are those conversations going?
If I'm understanding this correctly, so we had that one question that we talked about. We actually printed out student responses that were a 1, 2, 3, and a 4. But they weren't labeled that way, and we gave them to the students to sort them. And they obviously didn't have names on them, but they could like look and they compare different students' work and see, this is what meeting standard looks like. This is what an A looks like, this is what a B looks like, C. And so they actually had to sort them and then present them, saying, I think this one is a 4 because, I think this one is a 1 because. And so they actually got to see each other's work without being identified or embarrassed, but to really know what at standard looks like.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. I think it's MP3 next.
Hey, thanks for having us.
So I'm Sarah Kurashige. This is,
Jeff Carrico.
uh,
Yeah, it's nice to be here and see everybody. I don't come to these meetings very often. Michelle just did a fantastic job introducing our program, and I always feel like there's part of me that needs to re-explain MP3 every time I talk to anybody about it. So before I even start, I wonder if there's any questions that you all have about what MP3 does, or do you already feel pretty aware of like how the program's built?
Magical place.
It is a magical
Yeah.
place.
That's what, okay,
Yeah.
glad you feel that way.
so we have a variety of PLCs going on this year. There's Jeff and myself who are the guiding coalition, and we meet with Michelle on a regular basis to help, like steer the ship. And then we have an elementary level PLC where all the teachers who are currently dealing with the first, or the K through 4 kids, and a middle school PLC, which is the 5 through 8 people. So this year, we decided that we wanted a school-wide focus on belonging, because it's a huge part of the Meridian vision statement. And it's like the first commitment is that sense of belonging. And it also ties in really well with the SEL standards. So that idea of self-awareness, where you can identify your own emotions, your assets, where you could grow, and then resources that could help you outside of yourself, as well as standard 6, which is the social engagement, where you consider others and show a desire to contribute to your school and your community.
And this, of course, it's like an important standard for any school that you would ever attend. It's in our vision statement, like Sarah said, there's cell standards that are connected to it, but I think MP3 is a program, and a lot of MP3 families, I think, come to it with like a unique set of needs around social engagement and around like we see here, communication and support, what they need. So it's important for us to start off the school year with a focus on that, because I think that foundation needs to be laid and needs to be established before the academic work starts in earnest. So we put support and communication alongside our sense of belonging, and we kind of have 2 different tracks where I think the support and the communication, while it's to support and communicate with students, of course, I think that's a focus that was primarily our work with parents, who are the primary educators for the students. And then the belonging standards, I think, are connected much more to the work that we do on campus with the students that we see. And you can see here, these are, again, just from the Meridian vision statement around what support and communication means for our district.
So, with the belonging standard as a focus, we've used our CEE survey data from last year that was from parents and from kids on campus, the 4th through 8th graders, correct? To decide, like where do we have room to grow? So we decided that we're gonna focus on a sense of belonging when they're here on campus with us. And then for families, our SLPC focus for the year is we're focusing on support communication. And we used our initial interviews with every family that we have at the beginning of the year to gather information on their curriculum choices and their routines and how we could best support them.
So here's some of our data that, how will we know they know it? And again, the CEE data gave us a lot of information, of course. We found that 83% of the students that we had on campus agreed that there's at least one adult in the school that I can talk to if I have a problem. It seems like a basic expectation that they like we could hit 100%, right? We want all of the kids to feel comfortable communicating with the adults that we have there. We have fantastic adults, right? Come see us, come talk to us. And for me, I found it surprising. I guess I have the assumption that all the kids want to come talk to me, right? 83%. It's a good number, but a number that we could improve. And then 76% of the students who self-report that they enjoy coming to school. And again, it's 76%. It's not a bad number, but I look at that and I think, why not 100%, right? We have a great school, we have great staff, we have great students. Let's build that up. So what our teachers did at the beginning of the school year, because again, the CEE data was from last year. So at the beginning of the school year, we had pretty casual interviews with every single student on campus and a one-on-one chat with each kid pretty informally. Sometimes it was just like on the walk out to recess. It was during lunch. It was in, comfortable situations, we hoped. And we found that in our questions, we asked, do you have a trusted adult here at MP3 who you can talk to if you have a problem? And do you have a friendship or do you feel a connection to the students here at MP3? From our data there, we found that out of 179 students, we identified 26 who either needed support with a friend or making a trusted adult connection.
Okay. And then flipping back to that communication support side. So when we talked to families at the fall conferences, we found that our returning families were super excited to continue their journey. They're starting the year with a really great routine in mind. And then new families were choosing the recommended curriculum at a much higher rate than in past years. And they also were really open to hearing recommendations for how to set up a learning schedule and set themselves up for success. We were able to meet with every single family, either in person or via Zoom and phone during the first week of school. It was a lot, but we did it. And then a few weeks into school, during that same casual conversation with students, we also asked them, how's your at-home learning going? Do you have your curriculum yet? And, what's your favorite thing you're doing? Just trying to get a sense of how school is going at home for students. And when we looked at that data, we were able to identify students who did not have a routine or weren't in the full swing of school yet. And that was 35 out of 179 students. And they reported that they didn't feel like they had a solid routine or no routine at all.
This picture always makes me laugh a little bit. So give me a minute. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
What will we do if they don't know it? Question. What will we do if they do know it? So we always try to build belonging and that sense of students feeling comfortable at school into everything we do every day. One way that we work with the students who do know is we gave them opportunities to sort of lead activities with younger students. So we have a student advisory with our 5th through 8th graders who've got the opportunity to take on that leadership role that they've really been. It's been impressive to see the way that they've taken that on. I know Logan.
Your name is right there.
Logan has been, she's been a great support with helping to guide that for our kids. But to see them come into classrooms and lead an event, lead an experience for the younger kids it was pretty magical. Some moments to laugh and celebrate. Of course, in class, teachers have tried to be more strategic with seating. Once we got the data for which kids aren't feeling super well connected, almost like matchmaking, right? Here's two kids who we think can connect, can develop a friendship. We've been building inclusive openers into a lot of our classroom experiences with low stakes topics that really just help students communicate, right? Here's something interesting about me and I learned something interesting about you. We see in the picture here are two of our students doing our literacy celebration, which is, it's an annual event around books and learning and sharing interests. Just at the end of October, always a super fun experience. And again, the opportunities for kids to model, here's what, you know, connected behavior looks like. Here's what leadership looks like. So it's been super fun to see that develop on campus.
And then for supporting our families with learning and communication, we had an in-person workshop for families to highlight some different routining options and to give families a chance to connect one-on-one with your SLPC. So that was a month into the year. They had been working on things. It was time to do monthly reviews for us. And they had a chance to sit down and we really encouraged them to come with some ideas, but then we were able to support anybody who wanted, you know, like a step-by-step, sit next to me, help me get it figured out. And then for families who weren't able to make it to our workshop because it was on a Tuesday morning and sometimes people have other things they're working on, we shared our slide deck and we also made some targeted connections with new and returning families who had expressed a need for support or who we had identified as needing extra support. So back to Jeff.
Actually, before we go back to
Please.
Jeff, if I can go back to this, the learning and communication that we've been doing with parents is still ongoing, right? Yeah. It's not, you know, we didn't do it in September, then say, all right, you guys are good to go. We'll talk to you again next September. So we've got a plan to connect again with every single family between now and roughly Thanksgiving break is our goal. And again, it's just a check-in. How are things going? You have your curriculum, you've established your routine, are you know confident in you know, the schedule that you have at home, how can we continue to support you? Those conversations have almost all been fantastic, right? People, you know, saying thanks, celebrating successes, also asking for some support and sharing, you know, here's some of the challenges we've had. A lot of like challenges because mom or dad have to wear both that hat of I'm your teacher, but I'm also your mom. And how do they juggle that? That's tough one to answer.
Yeah.
So we also check back in with the students, right? So this has been an ongoing activity for us. And again, we see the group of students needing to make those connections shrinking. So for the K4 group, that went from 18 students to only 5 who still felt like they needed some support with how they can connect with a friend group. In the 5 through 8 group or 5 through 8th grade student group, we saw that go from 8 students to 3 students, which for me, I think is pretty magical, right? In that entire school, we see that there's only 8 students who let us know that, boy, I'm still feeling kind of like not connected, maybe a little isolated. So that means we have a vast majority that's feeling connected. And then the percentage of students who feel like they have a trusted peer, they feel comfortable, or sorry, trusted adult has gone up to 96. Again, not 100, which is our goal, but 96% of students feeling that they are comfortable coming in and talking with a teacher feels pretty good.
And Jeff already kind of jumped to this, but that's fine. I know you were so excited about what we're doing. So all of us as SLPCs have this beautiful document this year where we are tracking our communication and we're just keeping, you know, like a closer tabs on who we've talked to, how it's going. And so I am almost done with all of my individual phone call check-ins with families. And Jeff is right. It is like such a positive communication. And the couple of families who have reached out and been like, you know what? I thought I was going to love this curriculum, but it's too hard for my student. Like, what can we do to support them? It's been really good to have that conversation now and not when we're halfway through the year or when we are getting to the end of the year. And I wish that we would have had the conversation sooner because now is the time that we can make tweaks and we can change things up. We, as of now, have 100% of families reporting that they have a routine that's part of their homeschooling. Nobody is saying, we just do what we want, which we certainly hope that. Like, we want school to be a positive, productive thing for every family we work with. And we also have heard from several of our longtime families who have commented like, those schedules you sent out, I thought I had a great schedule, but we're trying something new and it's working even better than ever. Or like, I had it down with my older kids and I added in a kindergartner this year. So this idea of like, hey, I might need to have a tweak in my schedule, or I might need to run 2 schedules at the same time, is huge. So I really do think that it's been helpful to reach out to every family and not just offer the sports to brand new families. And it also gives that like common expectation. If I have a routine, I know what's going to happen as a parent, and then my child also knows what's expected every day. You know, like some are doing check off lists, others just have like, on Mondays, we are, you know, focused on math when we come home from campus, and we're gonna get some extra lessons in there. So having those constant conversations with families just feels like we've added in a level of support that we didn't know they needed, but it's definitely increased everybody's productivity. And I think that we're going to start reaping the rewards in the outcomes. We don't have hard data on that yet, though.
Academic effort.
Academic,
The
yeah.
academic effort. And I mean, even to follow up on what Sarah shared about the shifts that families have decided to make in curriculum and do it at this point in the school year, right? I think that'll help support the academic outcomes. If they're realizing in October, November that, man, this math curriculum I chose isn't a good fit.
Mhm.
If they shift it now and find something that is a good fit, then we expect to see that, you know, in January, iReady and in spring, state assessments, we'll see the improvements that we hope to see. And of course, there's tons of research too that shows that the impacts of, you know, social emotional standards being met and the sense of belonging and communication, they make a difference academically. So
Yeah.
Data to be determined, to be seen.
Any questions for us?
I think the casual, oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just curious when you'll take like another CEE survey, cause I know you have this quantitative data from like teacher
Last-
interviews.
Yeah.
But I'm like, so, okay,
Yeah.
if I didn't feel like I had someone at school, but a teacher came up to me and asked that, I might be like, oh yeah, totally, like, I totally do have someone. So I'm just curious what.
That's a really good question. So the CC happens in February every year, so we'll have that again. We also have questions in the past. Sometimes the way things are worded,
Mhm.
I think kids don't fully understand what's being asked of them. So we also have started to do a little discussion of like, how much do we explain a question?
Yeah.
Without leading somebody to choose an answer. So that's on the table. But I agree, Logan. I think that a conversation had one-on-one with a teacher is going to give you slightly different data than an anonymous survey.
Thank you.
And I don't know if so much a comment or a curiosity. SEL is so big in all of our, just inundated in all of our buildings. And I appreciate the concepts you've used, and we've talked about this before, the parents being the first teachers and the greatest influence. And I think you guys nailed it with these in-person workshops and the slide decks going home.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have parent engagement, your efforts are just astronomically more difficult. And I'm just wondering if any of our buildings have thought about implementing some of these approaches you've done with specifically the in-person workshops and the matchmaking for positive outcomes from SEL, or something we could maybe
I
discuss
can't
further.
speak to the other buildings, but I do know that myself as a teacher, I have always been a matchmaker, where if I have a new student, I'm immediately thinking about who's going to be a good partner, who do I know that they already like. I'll try to find out interests of new kids and then be like, oh, like you play soccer? I know somebody else, like this is who plays soccer at recess. You should go try it out. So I'm assuming that's happening in all the buildings, but it definitely, like, I do think that sharing out our resources as a slide deck it was a great resource for everyone. And then they can refer back to it. Even if you saw it in person, something might not have clicked in the moment, but then a month later, you're like, wait a second, they did have a couple other options for me. I'm gonna go back and check it out.
And I think parent education is huge, and buy-in and support. So nicely done. I love that approach.
I was gonna say, those casual conversations stuck out to me, like, you know, having those one-on-one conversations as they're going to recess and identifying proactively what students don't have that connection. I think that's cool, and it's intentional, and that's what's special about it.
And I enjoy it sincerely. Like it's super fun to walk out to recess, and I mean, I love recess still. I was playing kickball today. I don't wanna brag, but I got behind a couple balls. But I mean, I have so much fun chatting with the kids and learning about what they're interested in and sharing books with them and talking about sports or talking about fishing. And I mean, honestly, there's moments where kids will, like, I'll get invited to a Google chat, like this fall, it was fishing buddies. That was what they titled it. And it was four boys who we talked about fishing. They're like, I like Mr. Herrick, go to our fishing buddies group. I was like, how sweet is that?
Yeah.
And then left the group.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We canceled the Google
Yeah.
chat for everybody.
Yes, we did.
But it gives a lot of super. But I always like, when you get invited to those groups, it's a little window into how the kids really kind of feel about you.
Oh. For sure.
I'm excited to talk to Nehemiah about this outfit.
It is Nehemiah, yeah.
He's gonna have to read the good egg if he wants to play football.
And the look on his face too, he's really,
Yeah. That's it.
But I just wanna tell you how important it is to have that initial contact, and it is, for MP3, it is such a unique component where you partner with parents that they are doing the teaching at home. And absolutely the academic, but I also would say confidence and students' ability to risk and just things that may not otherwise be present because of the tools that you're giving them is awesome. Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. 10th grade ELA.
Hello.
Hi there.
Thanks for having us. Hello. You're taking me. Deep breath, I'm not afraid of you yet. You're riled up, waiting back there. Oh, okay. This is our presentation, for, the English department at the high school, and, today we're presenting, about our new 10th grade through line, for our PLC. So, like I said, 10th grade, my name is Keila Burnson. I teach 9th, 10th, Latinos in Action.
I'm Caitlin Olson. I teach 10th and 11th grade English language arts, and then I teach 9th grade world history.
I'm Larissa Schwal. I'm MLL specialist. I teach MLL English 1, 2 and MLL English 3, 4.
And then I'm joined, by Peter Hutchinson, Patrick James, and then all these amazing people, Larissa especially, and Cynthia, Olivia Booker, and Sarah Meadows. We work especially close with, and they do so much to support us. Also, I know I should just let this go. There's a typo here, and as an English teacher, I'm dying, and I just need you to know, I forgot, I was like correcting on my own. Didn't send, okay. Now you noticed it. Okay, so, just addressing this through line concept, which is kind of a new thing, that we're doing at the high school. And this is directly tied to try to improve our PLC process. When we're at the high school, so many times, in the past, we've had these conversations and we end up at the same stopping point where we're saying, okay, well, we're not teaching the same class, and so it's kind of hard to move on from here. Like, what does this actually look like to have some true alignment, to really do this process in the way that it's intended? And this is also tied to some of our building improvement plans. So with that idea, what we call the core 4, math, science, English, and social studies, there's a schedule change, and so all teachers who teach that in that department share one class, and so that is our new focus for our PLC. It's been really helpful to provide this framework to improve the PLC process, and as all of you know who are on the team, there's like that Storm and Norman Foreman, business, and there's so much growth happening, and sometimes it looks different for all the places. I love this because it's helping build alignment, for instructional strategies, for the things we do to support kids, and for our assessments. Right now, we are making progress on perfection, and at the same time, like, I don't think our English team has ever been more aligned, which is really, really, promising.
The reason that we chose tenth grade, and maybe Sean, whether they can give you more insight to this, but I know that part of this is addressing this like sophomore slump. We've had this really strong, awesome ninth grade success team at the high school for years, and we have lost funding for that now. Got still trying to, address freshman success, because that's the freshman being on track to graduate. That's the number one indicator that those students will graduate. And a lot of times we were seeing that dip in the sophomore year because we were getting like so much wraparound love and support in that ninth grade, and sometimes that 10th was a drop off. And so we're trying to replicate some elements of that ninth grade success team as well while we're in this PLC process. So this first question, what do we want students to learn? Our unit right now, we are doing narrative writing. And so the existing essential standard that we were working from was this like big, I just call it the granddaddy standard, write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences using effective technique that's very loaded, well-chosen details, and well-structured event sequences. Granddaddy, because it's like, it's not indented. There's a whole bunch of other ones that fall underneath this standard. So this is juicy. There's lots to do here. And then part of our PLC process is in trying to add in another essential standard. And we've been working on developing this with engaging and orienting the reader. Specifically, this end part of the sentence here, like the second bullet point, creating a smooth progression of experiences or events. We see that having a lot of application just to like organization of writing in general. There is huge vertical alignment with that. We really focus on that in ninth grade. That is coming up in all the other 10th grade units. We see that as a really important thing for us to be clear in our writing. That is like, when we're talking about essentials, that's essential for us to be good communicators. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Thank you. 10th grade alignment. Okay. Big picture, like what does this actually look like? Like, why is this really important? We want our students to be able to share their stories, right? And I think this is just like so essential in human nature that we are storytellers. And this is something we don't really get to do a lot at the high school level, where we're really focused on like the rigor and the tests and all these things. And this sometimes can be like a little bit of a fluffy standard, but this is so important for our kids to be able to tell their stories. And so one thing we've really focused on here is not just like, can you do these things, but why would someone use these different techniques in all these different ways? Why would someone use imagery? Why would someone use dialogue in these ways? So that students can more effectively tell their stories. And I think it's really powerful. I know a lot of you who like have kids, you're around teenagers all the time. Like sometimes teenagers, like they can be really great storytellers and, come up with a lot of great things, elaborate things. But there's some people in these contexts, like at school, where students don't get to share out their experience. And I love this unit so much because I've seen some like really incredible things. The student who frequently says this, like, I'm having a hard day. And to see the student be able to write this like really gorgeous image rich narrative where they're using sensory language to describe weather as a metaphor for like navigating school with autism and depression was like, it was breathtaking to see them be able to express themselves in that way. Another student who, if you ask the student about her experiences, she'd say, I came to this country when I was 5, but then with these narrative techniques to be able to like tell us like raw, gritty story about turning 6 years old in a detention camp, eating moldy bread for months. It's really powerful to be able to see these students get to share these things that are so essential to them as human beings. And that's why I really love the standard. That's a funny, yeah, okay. Standard. Okay, how will we know they've learned it? So our data, we instruct on the skill, we practice the skill. This is where we're really trying to develop our common formative assessment, and more work in progress here. What we do have solid is this common summative assessment. So there's little mini summatives. We teach about imagery, we practice imagery, they write a narrative using imagery. We teach about dialogue, they practice dialogue, write a narrative using dialogue. So we get that piece of work to assess. One thing that I think has been super helpful is self-assessment and peer assessment. And a lot of times this looks like I'm about to trade my work with someone else and we go through a little quick process, like highlight all your pieces of dialogue, all these little essential things, and kids are like, I need more time, I'm struggling. Like they can reflect on the process and see where they need to improve. And that's been really helpful where students can take some ownership of their learning. It's just an example of a pretty basic peer review. How will we respond if they don't learn it? We do a lot of one-on-one interventions, which I know is not in like the PLC process of like defining trends, we have data. But again, like this is really, really vulnerable work. Even if a student is not sharing this like raw stories, they're making something up, it still is vulnerable to do this creative writing. And it has been really effective because we do get a lot of writing time to make sure they have time to really get this all out. That we just have individual conferences. We talk about what's working, what's not working. The scaffolding has been helpful, trying to provide really like targeted and relevant toolboxes. And so if we're working on dialogue, we're working on why for dialogue, we want to express an emotion, or we want to tell something about our character. It's been nice to help provide a toolbox. Like these are some words you could use. So this is an example. We've been working on alternative dialogues instead of said. So James said, Marty said, where like we have something better, more interesting than that. And so we like categorize them by emotion. What am I trying to tell my reader here? We have been doing some reteaching. A lot of these skills we're trying to embed into the next narrative. And so we started with imagery, and then we were working on dialogue. And in the dialogue narrative, we're still expecting there to be some imagery. And then we're working on characterization. And inherently, we need some dialogue when we characterize, and we still want some imagery. So we're able to keep moving these forward. And then one thing that's been really helpful, especially with students who, for whatever reason, ML students who are struggling readers, reluctant learners, students with an IEP, have to do in this summative has been really helpful. And so providing them with really like vivid or detailed prompts, or something that accesses their like community cultural assets, someone that you know from social media, a TV character, giving them a little bit, like taking that load off of the creative work can help us really look at the skill. How will we respond if they do learn it? We're trying to increase the demand and rigor with some things like the voice area, sentence structure, word choice, things like that. And then this is so fun. This is like the most fun thing to provide these extensions and alternatives. So asking them to do like historical fiction, a student who learned something in history and sent him down like a rabbit hole, and now he's writing about spies. Writing fan fiction where we're reading our independent reading book and they're just continuing on, maybe writing in a different point of view. Some kind of visual representations like this social media characterization. And I do have to be honest, I meant this as an extension, but I ended up giving this to everybody. And this actually was really helpful for the kids who were struggling in the first place to like try to characterize someone through their bio or comments on social media. So I gotta go back to the drawing board, but it's great for everybody. All right, wrap it up. So the through line has been an opportunity for growth. It's providing an opportunity for a renewed and purposeful alignment on the PLC process with the English team. We are really big on this like baby steps, progress, not perfection. We're making gains right now. And I mean, I'm sure you can tell like some things look a little different. We don't have some of those numbers and things like that because we're working really, really hard to like strip down some things that weren't working for us so we can rebuild in a way that's more aligned to the PLC process, that's better serving our kids. Just kind of going back to this PLC mission and our building mission, which is everybody at Meridian's learning at high levels. That includes the teachers. Right now, I feel like I'm learning so much every day and being like, okay with that, you know, and every PLC, even when it feels like we're just like making incremental progress, I can see that it's having an impact on our kids' learning as well. And we're really looking forward to having some team planning time. And so getting to have time where we can get the nuts and bolts down a little bit better for our next unit, and so that we can really ramp up the PLC process. Do you have any? Thank you. Do you have any questions?
This was definitely close to 7 minute crying at our school.
That's my goal.
But the coaching mode is like, I was just saying like.
Progress, not perfection. I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that home and like, my home is progress, not perfection.
The descriptive writing though, that sounds amazing, because I know sometimes as a parent, like when they get home from school, it's like the only response you get is like, bro. So it's great that they're doing those amazing things in school, so.
To be fair, I do, I'm like, wow, you use right, you characterize your friends so well, so I just like it, but.
I don't know, Dad.
I love what you're doing. I love that you've identified the sophomore slump and we're doing some
Yeah.
proactive measures in that. Because the ninth grade success has been such an amazing program. And I can say as a parent of a high schooler, I wish we had so much more of this from K for 9 through 12. We're having to look at alternative options for English courses. And that wasn't my first thought with my kiddo. I'd really love to see more here. So I love this creative writing and other opportunities that are available for kids. Wish we had more of it.
Yeah, that's great. So that's been great. So yeah, that's awesome. You're working that in. Thank you.
I want to commend you for looking at the process that's been and saying, how can we make it better, and being okay with stripping it and trying to build up. That is hard. That is being vulnerable. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, fifth grade professional learning team.
You did not. Everyone, sorry. Oh, hold up. Okay, then.
She had a snack tray. I was like, oh, yeah, we're in.
Yeah,
I thought it was
all of our
snacks.
Ds are Bob Ross.
Have you done the fire unit?
Yeah.
Camp out, you've done that? Okay.
Yes, so these were, this is what the camp out was that.
Oh, sweet.
I know.
Sorry, I clicked it.
Yeah, oh yeah. Here we go. So we are the multi-award winning fifth grade team. We've won some, we are this year really internalizing Bob Ross's messaging of embracing our happy accidents.
And what do we want our students to learn? We, also focused on narrative writing for our students for this PLC cycle. And these are fifth graders, they're not 10th graders. Thank you, high schoolers, for kind of telling us what the 10th graders are already doing. So we wanted to focus also on dialogue and description. After a pre-assessment, that was something that we saw was needed. And it's just such a creative way for students in fifth grade to also show their learning and beef up, I guess, their narrative writing through word choice and description and dialogue. And we know that this will help develop students to be proficient writers, and it's just an important skill for writing narratives. They help students build communication. It helps them describe events in logical order, and it's essential for all kinds of writing, for essays and reports that we heard about even later on in their educational experience. How will we know they've learned it? After some full class instruction, we gave students a common formative assessment in class, and this is what the common formative assessment looks like. They were given 4 pictures, and after looking at the pictures, they got to organize it any way they wanted. And their goal was to write a quick story about the pictures and make sure that they use dialogue and explain what happens with the characters before the dialogue happened, and then their reactions after the dialogue happened. Students also were able to use that single point rubric to identify what they should be doing on a CFA, and then that's what we used to grade their formative assessment.
So that's what I just handed out, was the formative, it was the pre, the post, and the formative, the common formative assessment that we did. And one of those students came here only speaking and writing and reading in Chinese. So I have her September beginning all the way through the end of October. So that's what's being passed around.
All right, so how we respond if they don't learn it,
We did a lot of reteaching this whole class, and then we gave some specific feedback on the pre-assessment, and we did small groups and on conferencing. The kids worked together with their peers and edited together. There were anchor charts. So the middle two pictures are kids working together very happily. And then they revised their work and went back with the feedback they got and did it individually for their next assessment. And that's the first and last pictures. And they showed growth.
All right, so I get the fun part. So when the students finish writing their narratives and the whole process, so that not only did they do like the pre, the post, which were what, I don't know what the whole right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't right, is that how it's and then they had their actual stories that they wrote and that were edited and that they put a lot more time in. This is part of our UDL. It is how we use advanced applications in writing. And we engage students to become authors with getting to choose different parts. So here's the book, some of them, and there's all sorts of stuff. So like this one, the student, there's so many parts of this one, but one of them that's good is the back, it's the summary of their own book. Like this one has all sorts of stuff. What did she do? She also did the back about the author. She also included, I'm like, I don't know where to hand them all out to. Another one, like some of their book covers was one of them that they even get to choose from. This one goes with the Chinese writing student. Maybe I'll start back up here.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, so this was her final project where she made her book cover and wrote her whole thing in English, which was pretty amazing. Some of these students are also like ML students or ELL students. They don't, this is not their first language. This one was extremely exciting because we've never had a student do a newspaper article before about their story. So it was about the missing character in the book, which is part of the UDO. And then this one also did about the author and a few other things. So many things to look at that were fun. Oh, whose did I drop? Oh, this one is just funny. This student, the back is actually hilarious. And the humor in it is ridiculously funny. And they wrote a back of a book jacket, just like a real book. They attempted to do that too. So that was fun. Madison, do you want to explain this?
Oh, yeah, sure. So one of the prompts featured a person sleeping with a book with words coming out of the book. So my student actually tied it into her book project, and her characters in her story went in and explored different books. So she made mini books of all the books that her characters explored. And like I said, tied it into her book project. So I was like, okay, girl.
Yeah.
And she made the pom-poms.
And me, pom-poms. And then to also like celebrate their writing, when we were all done, we have bonfire day. So in 5th grade, we have bonfire day. We all spend a day of having snacks and reading books all day. And around a fire, we make fire in the classrooms, and we literally do nothing besides celebrate each other, read our books, celebrate finishing our first narrative writing process, and have a fun day.
I got to watch it last year. It was so amazing. To watch kids go up there and read their book and their story, and yeah, how intricate a lot of them were just amazing. So
that was good, I think, right?
We, well, yes, we could say that we had lots of mini lessons on reading fluency to for Bonfire Day.
Yes.
And the way that they read their stories this year was even more impressive.
Yeah.
In any year in them.
I was saying, it's cool. Are these other students' comments in the
Yes.
books? Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
The
That's
students
awesome.
get to read,
And I've been
or,
reading, they're all positive and yeah.
yeah,
so good.
there's some teaching around.
How did they read them that was different than before?
So through our like PLC, we've been having like a focus on reading fluency and getting kids reading out loud. So every day we had them practice their story and try to pick a different focus each day. So like one of the days we worked on pacing and thinking about how, you know, like maybe one part is really exciting, so you start reading it really fast. And then another day we try to pick a moment of suspense in their stories, since a lot of them were mysteries. So it was really fun to see kids like, I said, like, think about me as a teacher. When my voice gets really, really quiet, you have to pay attention. And that can be the moment that you like, bam, and scare the kids. So that was really fun to see them try to scare each other.
well, even reading a question, like a question.
Yeah.
You know, and like being able to understand when someone reads a book, like make the words come alive with your voice. There's a lot of skill in that. No Ben Stein.
So to wrap up, we were really excited to see a majority of our students showed at least 1 year of growth. And even though we still have students who are not at standard, this is an end of the year standard. And we're gonna continue refining throughout the year. And a reflection we had as a team is we really want to collaborate on what dialogue looks like at a 5th grade level. With, how we're grading it.
Well, and I'm sure, I hope everyone saw it now, but one of our big takeaways was that just because a student on a rubric or on a grading scale doesn't look like they've shown a lot of growth, that student that you all saw started off writing in Chinese and then went to, it's still very broken English, right? But she's learning and it still is like a 1st grade level, but going from not being able to read or write in English to write maybe a sentence or two, then a paragraph, and in 6 weeks, write 4 paragraphs? That's amazing. It just doesn't always show when you just look at data. Yeah.
There's lots of growth to be, that's been had, even though it's at that below grade level area.
Yeah, so there's the data, but there's the narrative that goes with it.
Yes, like their story. Yeah.
Great.
Any questions?
Well, yeah, some gives me some great.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You want me to grab them? Oh, I know, I was gonna get rained on the way in here.
The dialogue is saying.
Like what house this week is. What's going on in the neighborhood?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. State policy.
Just one item. Moving on, Dr. Kurt Harville.
Doctor.
First reading of policy 1111. Oath of office.
Good evening. All right, so.
I'm not gonna get left behind.
He does. So. All right, so tonight I have one policy for your review. Policy 1111, and it's the oath of office. This is a discretionary policy by WASDA. There we go. This is an update to an existing policy. And basically WASDA revised the policy to comply with House Bill 1296, which is promoting a safe and supportive public education system. If you take a look at House Bill 1296, this language and almost this entire policy comes directly from section 310 in the House bill. It is on it. I won't say it's verbatim, but you can definitely tell where it comes from. The changes that WASDA made is they added the language, the laws of the state of Washington. Previously, it said, we'll follow the Constitution of the United States and the Washington State Constitution. And then they added in as well as the laws of the state of Washington. And then WASDA removed the language about notary republic. The RCW gives school officials the authority to issue these oaths or affirmations. And so that is the gist of the changes to this policy. I also included a WASDA FAQ in your board documents, which outlines, it talks about saying the oath or affirmation in the same manner before every new board member or returning board member starts their term. So it talks about some more specifics about this policy. Question?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just one, sorry.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at the markup, we have added this, the Constitution of the state of Washington was already in existence, but we have now added the laws of the state of Washington.
Yes,
And this is a discretionary policy. This is not.
I actually find that as I was reviewing it, I kind of thought, why is this not essential? Or critical as the new language goes. But yes, it is qualified as a discretionary policy. And the laws of the state of Washington comes directly from section 310 of that House bill. And I'm happy to reach out and ask that question.
It,
It seems odd because the law says that's what
Yeah.
we're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Seems like it would make sense to make sure all the board directors know what they're obliged to do.
yeah, I think I would like clarity on that.
Oh, yeah, clarity in that. Good question. Thank you. Other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Superintendent report.
Okay. Got him on the screen. So, here we go. So I just sent you an update from Kayla Burnson, who did much of the ELA in the high school report tonight on her Latinos in Action class. So she sent an email that actually brought me to tears a bit in terms of just the dynamics of how the students have engaged in that class, and it was around mentoring. So on the 24th of October, they went to Ms. Billmeyer's class, first grade class, and then they helped the students with reading and thinking about just where some of the high schoolers and some of their experience of not having mentors and not having some supports around their acquisition of language and being able to read, and yet they're being put in a position to support younger students to read. And I just think her words are better than what I could convey. So I just I forwarded you her email so you can read on your own time, but just celebrating and recognizing that with your support, bringing Latinos in Action to the high school was huge for all kinds of reasons and has a lot of potential as we continue to move on, and just take a look at the smiles and the engagement that they've got as they're active in this. Yes.
Can you forward me, can you in that email as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll do it when we're done here. Sure. I don't know if you saw the Linden Tribune article, but there was a really great spread on Mark Wolrab and the success that the fire science program has had at our high school. And I think I've shared in the past, we also have a second session. So he's got a morning session and an afternoon session. And we also added allied health. So we have allied health and we have our open doors program. And then as we bring in the district office with classrooms, we're going to float a couple of classes, early education, and then also hospitality and tourism. In the fall, we had offered early childhood education, but didn't have enough students with interest. So it depends on enrollment, but again, the effort is to try and make sure that we're providing NCTA programs that are interest of our students and also appeal to high wage and high demand jobs that are in this area. So when we think about opportunities for students with casinos in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of hospitality and tourism opportunities that are there, and healthcare, there's quite a bit. And then the early childhood ed, as you know, is a high need that we have. So trying to make sure that we provide an opportunity for our students to engage in an area, and then an opportunity, because when we have the early learning center, we're going to have somebody running that will then need students to help support that. So will not just be training students, but also providing for the workforce as well.
Thank you for identifying hospitality, because I was trying to connect the dots on how that one was selected to be.
And a lot of those, when we did the feasibility study to look at what industries in Whatcom County we needed, the ones that surfaced 2 to 3 years ago, we need to revisit that and make sure that they're current. Some of them haven't changed much, but we'll revisit that, and certainly before we settle on what programs we're gonna build into our skill center. Yeah. I've started my visits to classrooms, and so I'm hitting each grade level. And so, this one was Mr. Hutchinson's class, and, each teacher is asked to work with your class and come up with questions ahead of time. And so there were questions about, what's happening with the skill center and what programs, and then why do we have a closed campus, and, things that don't really rest with me, but they're more like, that's probably a good question for Mr. Doffing, right? I don't want to come in and say, well, the superintendent said we could, so I want to walk that fine balance, but they're really about 25 minutes, and it's always been a really good conversation. So I have a junior and sophomore class that's coming up, and I'll keep working my way as we go through the year. So these have been good. And then, of course, Lisa captures this, and it goes on our social media as well. There were questions about safety, questions about why the campus is closed down. So we talk about what happens in schools today, and what can we do, and how can we be as safe as we possibly can, right? And so good conversations. It is too bad that everyone that was here left, because I do want to really hit on what a fantastic learning day we had. So we have waiver days that are, through our schedule, where we have training that we need to provide to our staff. And that waiver day was really around how do we have effective feedback? And under Adrian, she works with Cynthia Richardson, Rebecca Kratzik, who was our dean at the elementary school, Jill Hammock, who's our assistant principal, was really that team of 4 that put this together. But then we have our principals and other administrators in the district that pitch in and help out and make sure the day goes smoothly. It was hosted at the middle school, so Robert was doing things on the intercom and moving things along. But not a moment was wasted. Came in, they had the main cafeteria at the middle school was redesigned, and they had teams that people, were they leaves and mittens, a fall theme, right? And so they had tables where they went, so they don't have their colleagues that they're going to congregate with. They're being spread out, and they're engaging in activities from the get-go. And then from there, they had 8 different sessions that were put on by our teachers or administrators in the district. And it really is powerful to say that the knowledge that we're learning from is from our own people. A lot of times there's an effort to say, oh, we need to bring somebody in. We need to bring someone in, pay the money to have a speaker. Sometimes that's appropriate, but for the work that's being done in our district, spreading the wealth across the district has been super valuable. And the feedback from our teachers to hear from them that they're learning from their colleagues has been really beneficial. So it's not a one and done. They know where these people are. They know how to reach out to them, they know how to connect with them. So it's been positive.
I have to ask, based on that photo, what was your?
Which one?
Of everyone in the cafeteria? What was your attendance on and participation on that day? That doesn't seem like full representation, or am I missing something?
Well, it's a panorama.
Okay.
And so we can find out, but I think we maybe had 7 or 8 or less. I mean, we had very high participation. Yeah. And everybody signs in, so that's easy to do. We can find it. We can find it for it. But it's a panorama shot across, and then I trimmed
No,
the
but
ceiling.
we approved these waiver days, so I just want to make sure that we're taking full advantage of participation.
Absolutely. And I would say that since we have our people presenting them, attendance is improved.
What? It looks like a whole room to me. What am I missing?
When you look at all of the staff,
It looks like all the staff are there. I don't see
I think
empty seats really. Maybe at the end.
I think there's
I just think it looks like a full space.
Oh, it is making it bigger. So it's hard,
Mine
it
is
is,
as well.
yeah,
I see something different, so that's why I'm asking the
Yeah.
question.
yeah. But this is across the width of it, so, yeah, we can.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's gonna be good,
Thank
but I don't remember what the exact number was. And then you have seen this from Jay in 24 and in 25 on the district office. We are getting close to having the district office get set. What we are stuck on right now is because of the federal shutdown, we have to wait for authorization to access some funds. Once that happens, then we'll be able to move, but we were scheduled late November, early December to start moving earth and get the pit set ready to get those 8 portables in to develop the offices and the classrooms. And so, according to Jay, we're still on target, but as time keeps moving, we'll see what happens and see how quickly they remedy. So even if they remedy the shutdown, we don't know how quickly we'll be able to get authorization. So we'll see, but just a reminder, it's coming. And then here is the,
Can I ask one question?
yeah,
If it's already earmarked and we're just waiting on the shutdown to happen, could we potentially pull funds from like the general fund to get it going? And then once things fire up,
we could, but I wouldn't recommend it because we don't want to get stuck in a situation where maybe that doesn't come back to us. Other things have happened, right?
Gotcha.
And so, I would hate for something that's been allocated to then get pulled back.
Oh, so that
Right.
could happen. Okay.
We just want to be, we want to be safe about it and we don't want to jeopardize the general fund. And so what we would do instead is we would just move our dates out. It's a good question. And then upcoming, I think I've shared before that we have, as a partner with the Limitless grant, they have the Boys and Girls Club of Whatcom County, they have their annual breakfast. And so the rest of the team is going to attend the breakfast tomorrow and be in support. We were not successful in securing a 21st century grant. If you remember, that would have been $400,000 worth of staffing and support for middle school and elementary for 5 years. We had a good submission, but I think they only funded 13 projects. So I don't know if the number of projects was less or if the awards for projects was less, but I do know, I'll ask Heather tomorrow, but I do know that, things were cut way back. They did not offer 21st century last year, and so we're hoping they offer again next year. So trying to get some feedback as to why it was not picked up. And then on Friday, I am attending the Risk Schools, Sexual Assault and Molestation Symposium. They do this once a year, and they bring in experts to talk about how you help your staff understand boundaries and limits and what we do as systems to make sure that we're putting staff in training so they understand also what is acceptable and what is prohibited, right? And so I'll be attending that. And then we are gonna have a school board meeting on the 19th. And then we'll head down on the 20th to go down to Wasta. So we'll have the school board meeting then. And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do we have any information from our student board representative?
I'm pretty sure Edith gave you a solid rundown of the district advisory meeting. And that was the most recent action we've had, but high school advisory is going to meet the 19th. And the district advisory will meet again on December 4th. And then we're excited to see, we're trying something out new this year. We're doing like rotating representatives from each school as opposed to having the same reps come each district meeting. So stay in tune for how that goes.
What do you have going on personally?
Is it cross country?
Yeah.
Right now, yeah.
Districts was last Saturday, or no, sorry, last Friday.
Oh, sorry, because we just.
Yeah, 4P district champs, girls and boys, so
There you go.
that was really exciting. And then we're heading to state this weekend, hopefully gonna bring back a couple trophies.
First day that.
Pasco.
That's always good to come back.
100%.
It was like California, it was like 70 degrees. And that's what. Or 10 degrees.
Girls race at 10, boys race at all of it, something morning for both of them, which is nice.
Good, cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Volleyball had loser out tomorrow night, 7:30 at MERIDIAN.
Winter advance.
Winter advance.
Yeah, winter advance, yeah.
Winter advance. And then Saturday, the boosters for the class of 2026 are hosting a pancake breakfast to hopefully wrap up their fundraising for Disneyland.
Is that the last? Fundraiser?
Pretty close. The last major event before tickets are purchased.
We're on track.
You are on track.
Let's go.
All right, well, there's nothing else. We can sign some official documents and adjourn.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.